Discover what truly upsets you. Is it solely the thought of never seeing your parents again? Or is it the regret of not spending more time with them? The deep sorrow we experience when we lose our parents often involves regrets of things left unsaid or undone. These regrets can vary for everyone, but they stem from not being able to mend relationships before it's too late. The inability to reconcile before a parent's death can lead to lingering regrets that turn into blame and unresolved guilt. This reality of not being able to rectify things after a parent's passing is what wounds us the most. I've known many people who have struggled with the pain of not being able to fix their strained relationships with their parents before losing them. They couldn't find the courage to take steps to mend their relationships until it was too late. This sense of being too late turned into regrets they couldn't rectify due to personal blame. With their parents no longer in their lives, they lacked the power to turn back time as a simple life form. This reality is the most fundamental thing that hurts us after the death of a parent. A friend of mine from a conservative family had a controlling father. While he had a great relationship with his mother, his father was a difficult person who constrained his life. Until he reached adulthood and stood on his own feet, his decisions didn't seem entirely his own, and he often voiced his struggles. Eventually, he managed to break free from the oppressive father figure and decided not to have any contact with his family. Indeed, he didn't see his father at all after turning 25. It seemed like he had overcome this issue. For 20 years, he appeared to be a completely different person, liberated from the influence of his controlling father during his youth. However, everything changed on the day of his father's death. Despite not having seen him for 20 years, losing his father had a greater impact on him than losing his mother, with whom he had a close relationship. From an outside perspective, it seemed truly odd because losing someone we loved and got along with suddenly and never being able to see them again should be more heartbreaking than someone negative leaving our lives. Yes, indeed, when it comes to parents, the regret of things left unsaid or undone is often less intense than the pain of losing them. The reason is quite clear. The emotions he wanted to mend his relationship with his father but couldn't muster the courage to address, constantly postponing them until tomorrow, erupted after his father's death. His father couldn't mend their relationship no matter the reason while he was alive. Dark questions constantly plagued him. He could have been more understanding towards his father, tried to change his father's flaws, or perhaps chosen a more moderate approach instead of completely cutting off the relationship. These regrets, stemming from the inability to rectify things while his father was alive, turned into blaming after his father's death, as the realization that this situation could never be rectified again gave way to regretful blame. Indeed, the heaviest emotions we experience after the death of our parents are often self-blame. While this experience may seem exaggerated, it can still serve as a lesson from our own experiences and help us understand the source of our grief. Even small failures, such as continually postponing the time we wanted to spend with our parents while they were alive, can lead to self-blame because they are the heroes in our lives, the fundamental idols of our childhood. We direct this self-blame with a childlike demeanor. We were once their children. Underlying this fear of never seeing our parents again after each loss lies these regrets. These regrets may not always be significant, but even if they are as small as grains of sand on a beach, their impact can be significant and are the reasons for our fundamental sadness. Because think about it, what was once in your hands could one day have been things you could rectify, but in their absence, they turn into the things you can't rectify even if you want to. The reality of not being able to rectify things also reminds us of something else, our own death. So when we discover the underlying reasons for our grief that emerge after the death of a parent, which make us feel like it will never pass and keep us from living, what should we do next? 2. Acceptance and tolerance. When we've explored all these issues, there's only one thing left: acceptance. I know when you first heard about acceptance, you might have found yourself blaming. How can I accept it? My life is over. They were my loved ones. My life will never be the same again. I'm a failure. I couldn't show enough love to my family. I'm a worthless child. I couldn't be worthy of them. I could have spent more time with them. I always procrastinated with excuses. They could have been better parents, and I wouldn't feel these emotions. You've probably made one or several of these accusations already. You're angry, sad. Maybe even the idea of being happy after losing your parents disgusts you, because you think that the idea of you having fun in this world while they're not alive could hurt them. Because you have regrets. There are things you could have done, but somehow chose not to. Delayed, postponed taking responsibility, and now they're unfixable. But think about it. Is dwelling in the past, making your life unbearable, trying to prove how much you regret and suffer because of the loss of your deceased parents really going to pay off? Would they, if they were watching from somewhere, want you to grieve, or would they want you to embrace your life's course? Of course, we're all human beings, and our parents symbolize many things in our lives. Of course, grieving, remembering them, and honoring their memories are truly human and perfect feelings that we, as children, need to fulfill, reminding us of our humanity. According to Aristotle, these emotional responses to death are part of human nature. But acceptance, like grieving, is also a human behavior, so you must accept it. Use these human feelings not only to make your life worse, but also to take a look outside your life, to accept that a new phase of your life has begun. But it won't always be easy. Even if you get rid of blaming yourself, you'll then encounter emotions associated with your own mortality. Aristotle explains this as follows. When our loved ones die, our mortality comes to light, and the feeling of not being able to see our loved ones again merges with the reality that our own ultimate death is approaching, creating a hole. From this perspective, another reason for the extreme reaction we give to the death of our parents is our reaction to our mortality, to the uncertainty, to nature, and to existence that we associate with our parents in our individual lives. Acceptance is the way to get rid of all these emotions that restrict our daily lives and cause harm to the people around us. Accept nature and life as they are, along with their pains. We must face and accept the regrets we associate with our parents in our human nature, the universe, and our individual lives. Death is here, and it caught our loved ones before us. Remember, millions of people in the world are experiencing this. Feel the experiences of other people in the world and embrace those feelings. It's time to start a new era. Accept the things you cannot change. Focus on changing what you can. 3. Living in the present moment. Whether we accept it or not, life enters a new phase after the death of a parent. Recognizing and accepting this phase was what we discussed in the previous 2 sections. What comes after recognizing and accepting is building and developing this new phase on solid foundations after the death of a parent. Remember that in this phase, you are alone because every experience in living is unique to the individual. One is one's own refuge. Who else could be the refuge, said the Buddha. He admonished his disciples to be a refuge to themselves and never to seek refuge in or help from anybody else. You should do your work. However, this does not mean isolating oneself is a way to construct this path. On the contrary, isolating oneself means distancing oneself from life. Distancing oneself from life prevents us from perceiving life as it is, which leads to our pains taking over. Deepening a swamp of distorted perception towards life is the last thing we want. Therefore, the skill lies in being able to construct ourselves while we are alive. A good and meaningful social life is another stage of acceptance. Finding meaning in life means constantly being alive, which cannot happen in loneliness. However, understanding and accepting the pains and charting a new course is not something that can be achieved by simply adapting ourselves to our surroundings. Finding balance in loneliness and sharing will rebuild us. To complete this stage, you must first specify how you want to live. Repeating past regrets creates future regrets. Making use of past regrets is the best way to find our way because our past regrets are who we wanted to be but couldn't.